Tommy and the Phillies know they must keep on winning to get in. Chipper Jones and the Braves have done that all year. That's why they have the best record in baseball. The Atlanta Braves are cruising to their 12th straight divisional title. In the past, it's always been Atlanta pitching, but now it's the hitting that's taken center stage. The Braves have resurrected the launching pad. They're on their way to being the first team to clinch a postseason berth this season. 2 weeks ago, the Phillies were in chaos. Wild card dreams blowing up in their faces. Turmoil? You betcha. But now they're back on track. They won 10 of 12, looking for their first postseason berth in 10 years. With 18 runs in grand style last night, they've served notice that the wild card is not just a dream anymore. Phillies, Braves, next. Welcome to a beautiful late summer evening in Hotlanta. Not that hot. And for game 3 of 4 between the Phillies and the Braves have long been a foregone conclusion. They're headed toward the postseason. The Phillies can hope so. But they already know that the Marlins have won this afternoon at the Mets. So the Phillies have to win against the team with the best record of baseball just to keep pace in the torrid and wild NL wild card race. Hi, once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. So glad you can be with us here on Wednesday Night Baseball. Meaningful September baseball. It's what you play for as a player. Joining me, the man that won 8 National League batting titles and a man that knows that not every September was meaningful, was it, Tony?
No,
Gwynn,
it wasn't.
for you?
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why the Phillies have an opportunity. The Braves are used to this, but the Phillies have an opportunity that doesn't come knocking very much, at least for this franchise in recent years. They had the wild card race in their hands. Yep. They went 1-9. Right. Then, since then, they've gone 10-2. Which team are they? You got a clue?
Well, it's a good question. I think Larry Boa, during the 1-9 stretch, was very concerned about the style of play. They made a lot of mental mistakes, bad base running, not hitting cutoff men, the fundamental part of the baseball game. And then he goes off. They turn around and win.
He went off?
He goes off. They turn around and win 10 of 12. He's been very happy with his pitching, with the way they've swung the bats, the way they've hit with guys in scoring position. That's the team he hopes he has for the rest of the year. Well,
the Braves, meanwhile, they're about to win their 12th straight division title. You can't understate that the job of Bobby Cox, what this organization has done turning over the players. They have a 10.5 game lead in the East and a little bit of a lead over San Francisco for home field. Is home field enough to play for? Look, they had home field in the first round last year and they lost to the Giants. Yeah. Is that enough to motivate a team?
I think it is. I think even though their fans weren't very supportive, I don't think they want the Giants to get home field advantage. That makes their road a little bit tougher. So coming here in September, they've been here many times before. They want to continue to try to play good baseball. They do not want the Giants to grab home field advantage. So there's plenty to play for Atlanta, too.
Well, they have their hands full because the one guy in the last couple of years that's had their number is the Phillies starter tonight, Vicente Padilla. 3-0 this year against the Braves, 5-2 against them lifetime. The one guy that solved him, even through his mastery, is Gary Sheffield. Can he get the Braves going? Or will the Phillies, who scored 18 runs last night, get another first-inning home run for Mike Lieberthal? Would be 3 straight. We'll see.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball, brought to you by Dish Network. Call and ask how you can get a free Dish Player DVR. 1-800-WOW-DISH. And long-lasting Energizer. Do you have the bunny inside?
The hunt for October, indeed, certainly for the Philadelphia Phillies as they play game 3 of this 4-game set. Braves won Monday night 6-4. The Phillies won and then some last night 18-5. The lineup for Larry Boa's Phillies: Mike Lieberthal against the lefty. Ramirez is going to hit cleanup, and he's hit a 3-run homer in the first inning of each of the first 2 games. Jim Thome goes down to the 5-hole, even though it's lefty-lefty. He's the big bat for Philadelphia, Tony.
Yeah, right now, Lieberthal has carried the load a little bit here during this run, but Thome's year this year has been unbelievable. 39 homers, and he's driven in over 100 again. I mean, there's no question he's the offensive leader.
The pitcher is Horacio Ramirez, who was the Game 2 starter this year for Atlanta. And you wait a minute, Atlanta, Horacio Ramirez, Game 2 starter. What, are you kidding? But the one thing he's been, Tony, and it's his first time the Phillies will see him all year and vice versa, he's been pretty consistent and I think poised for a first-year pitcher.
No question. I mean, this is a young pitcher who pitches like he's been in the big leagues for a long time, and obviously I think when you have the minds of the Atlanta Braves pitching staff to learn from, Greg Maddux and John Smoltz, I think you learn how to pitch and how to keep your composure.
Well, here's the defense, which has made the second most errors in the National League, and it changed tonight. Mark DeRosa played second on Monday, played short yesterday. He's playing third tonight to give everybody in the infield a day off. Castilla will sit. Yeah,
and that's, kind of typical Bobby Cox this time of the year, trying to give his guys a day off as they, finish the season out and get ready for the postseason. So here we go. 18 runs last night. You wish you'd saved some of them if you're the Phillies, right, Tony? You've been in exactly
games like that. And it usually happens that you get 0 or 1 the next game, right?
Well, when you're playing a team like the Atlanta Braves, you put that many runs on the board, you're going to wish you can carry a few over the next day.
Count is 1-1 to the rookie center fielder Marlon Byrd, who really has come on since the summer. He also is at home. He's from Atlanta. I asked him how many tickets, and I said, well, at least I've been in here a few times. Just 15 tonight. It was 50, in an earlier series. But there it is. Yeah. Since June, since the end of May, he's been the player that they were hoping that he would be. And I'm anxious to see him play center field because everybody says he's like a young, not that he's old, but like a young Andruw Jones. Yeah, and Larry Bowa has been very pleased with his his progression here as the season has gone on. He got off to a slow start, and he's picked it up and been very good offensively for Philadelphia. Shot foul past third base coach, one of our favorites, John Vukovic. And Larry Bowa, well, to say he's been in the spotlight lately as the rise or fall and rise in the last 3 weeks of the Phillies, it would be the understatement. And Byrd with a base hit right up the middle. The Phillies, who hung a 4 spot on the Braves on Monday night, but didn't win, and then they hung 10 by the time the first 2 innings were over yesterday, they did win. So here they come again. Yeah, that's nice hitting by Marlon Byrd. Ramirez is not an overpowering guy. He's a left-handed pitcher that likes to work from the third base side of the rubber. So with all these right-handed hitters in the lineup, they really have to be cognizant of the ball inside. And he stayed with that nicely, lined it up the middle, and Phillies are off and running again. This is the shortstop, Jimmy Rollins, all-star a year ago. Slow roller, and this could be tough. I mean, that's just, you couldn't place it any better than that, right? You couldn't. Swinging bunt, perfectly placed. DeRosa couldn't get to it. Ramirez started off the mound like he might have had a play, but I think he realized by the time he got to the ball, Jimmy Rollins could run. That's a changeup. Rollins is out in front. Perfect swinging bunt right down the line. Rollins can run. You just have to eat that one and try to make some good pitches from here on out. Well, barring a triple play, they know that they're going to have to face Mr. First Inning, Mike Lieberthal, in the first inning. Yep. He's hitting fourth. This is Bobby Abreu. No day at the beach. 20 homers, 93 ribbies, 297. Abreu up with a big spot very early on. 353 runners in scoring position. I mean, they have tools here. They've hit a lot better, Tony, in the second half of the season. Well, it's like Larry I talked to him before the game today. And the one thing he talked about was during the 1-9 stretch, they'd get situations like this, and they could not deliver. And, guys putting extra burden on themselves, knowing that they weren't scoring runs, knew that they needed to score runs. And they didn't deliver. They went 1-9. Larry has his tirade after a especially tough loss, and they've responded. They've won 10 out of the last 12. Foul back by Abreu. And you know what's amazing? Tommy Glavine is now a Met, and you know how great a pitcher Tommy is, and congratulations to him for joining the 250 win club. But he was always get him in the first inning. He's gone, and they're even worse in the first inning. The most of any inning scored on the Braves is the first inning. Well, when you played the Atlanta Braves, that was your game plan. You wanted to get them early. You wanted to put runs on the board early and force them to kind of change the way that they pitch, because if they got the lead, you were at their mercy. Bounced. Walked by Javi Lopez. Meaning that you're always when we faced the Braves, you always had to hit the pitcher's pitch,
And if you could put runs on the board early, that kind of forces them, like, hey, I got to go after guys. I can't afford to nibble. I can't afford to, you know, pick on the edges. And so anytime you can put runs on the board early, that kind of forces the pitcher's hand a little bit.
Well, this could be 2. Giles for Cal over to Fick. It is 2. A very key double play right there as Bird moves over to third base, but they're 2 out now. You said barring a triple play, but it was a double play.
I mean, Ramirez, a good ground ball. He throws the ground ball. Giles for call, and just a bullet to first to get Abreu for the double play.
Won't be a 3-run homer, but Mike Lieberthal, 3-run homer Monday night, 3-run homer Tuesday night, hitting in the 5-hole. Now steps up, hitting cleanup with a man on third. Outside, ball 1. He's, you know, you see the series numbers there. They are the 2 home runs. He and Bird have been probably the most impressive hitters as far as an uptick since the middle of the season for the Phillies.
Yeah. You know, Lieberthal isn't hitting as many homers maybe as he has in the past, but you know, he's hitting .324, and the last 2 nights, I mean, he's been the guy that the Phillies have wanted up at the plate with anybody in scoring position.
A lot of big hits too, not in the homer style. I don't know that he'll be a home run hitter. Not that he was a home run hitter.
Yeah.
I know that may be done. You know, really a year and a half to rehabilitate with the knee, with the leg. I mean, and but he's certainly hitting for average. One of the leaders in the league at .324. 2-1 count. Up and outside. 3-1 with Jim Thome on deck.
The thing you like about Lieberthal in this situation is that, you know, like I talked about earlier, Horacio Ramirez pitches all the way on the third base side of the rubber, and he likes to, and Tom Glavine, like, try to own the outside part of the plate, and Lieberthal is not going to be afraid to go the other way against him.
Slow roller to short for Cal. Fick, and for the first time in this series, the Phillies don't get a thing in the first inning. Moving to the bottom of the first, no score here in Atlanta. Now, fans of all ages, school is in, but a little earlier start here. Usually starts all ages. And an early start helps everybody, including the announcers, doesn't it? Usually start at 7:30 here. We ESPN, it's a 7 o'clock start. And Bobby Cox's lineup for the Braves has been a lineup chock full of all-stars. And really from hitting 1 through 9, I know that Castilla sits, but DeRosa hit a homer earlier in the series. And just look at that outfield, Tony. Sheffield, Jones, and Jones. Yikes.
I know, and it's Chipper starting to pick it up too. It's scary enough.
This is Vicente Padilla, who, as we told you, is 3-0 against the Braves this year, and the Phillies won the other game in which he got a no decision against the Braves this year. So he has their number, and as you know, I guess you feel that you can throw your A stuff and have it working. It must be mental both sides.
Yeah, it is. And you know, when a guy has your number, you know, offensively, you got to capitalize on any opportunities that you get. And Padilla has had their number, and then tonight they're going to try to figure out a way to beat him.
This is Rafael Furcal, one of about 8 million All-Stars that the Braves had this year. Furcal an All-Star, and Giles an All-Star, and Sheffield, and Andrew Jones, and Javi Lopez, and John Smoltz. More on that in a moment. Russ Ortiz, 7. Phillies had 1. Randy Wolf. Chop foul. Although oddly enough, they have 2 now. Mike Williams, who was the Pirates' own All-Star, who's now a Philly, and Chipper was not an All-Star, but you know that he is one.
Yeah, and when you look up and down this lineup, you see Gary Sheffield there. You know, he's kind of the kingpin, because he's the guy with the guys at the top. The job that Giles and Furcal have done.
There's a shot. Jim Thome was there at first. And there is 1 out, so you've already learned part of the Phillies defense, Tony.
Yep.
It's very good. It's one of the best in the league.
It is. You know, you look around, especially with this young outfield, Bird, Abreu, Burrow out in the outfield. They've done a super job. Rollins is kind of the leader at short. You know, a lot of speed. They got a lot of range. Lieberthal behind the plate. The one thing they haven't done real well is throwing out runners. But defensively, if they get their glove on it, they seem to make the play.
So Marcus Giles, that scary collision with Mark Pryor. Imagine that, the pitcher getting the better of the second baseman at Wrigley Field before the All-Star game. But a bust-out year he has had. And
sure hadn't affected his numbers. You look at his numbers. I mean, 315, 19 home runs on the verge of hitting 20. Like I said, the job him and Furcal have done at the top of the lineup. I mean, 300 hits and 200 runs between them.
2-0 count. Foul back net. Here it is. I mean, this was just outright scary because both guys were just going hard.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for both because both were all-stars and didn't get a chance to participate. No, Giles didn't get. He was going to be the starting second baseman, and that is scary. I mean, Pryor's a big man.
Well, it's fortunate that neither were out for longer than they were.
Right.
And it's 3-1 to Giles. It was 19 home runs. And if he hits and if and when he hits 20, that'll be 6 guys. 20 or more homers. We'll talk about it next time he comes up. But you see, it goes past the diving bird, and here goes Johnson at second base. Everybody diving, double. Because he's got a little power, you can't cheat in on him, right? And Bird almost made a great catch, Tony.
Yeah, he did, and Giles takes a big swing here, 3-1, and Bird comes in with an all-out effort to try to make this play and comes up just a bit short. I mean, he got a good jump on the ball. He read it well. He just couldn't get to it. And Marcus Giles, hustling all the way, beats it in, gets in the scoring position with a double. Grass stains, I mean, that's the kind of player Larry Bowa loves. He loves guys that prepare for the game and give an all-out effort.
Well, runner at second now with 1 out, and Gary Sheffield is up. Sheffield hitting that 3-hole, and that's really when you have Chipper and Andrew and Javi. They're not trying to pitch around you to get to them. And he's seen a lot of big pitches. And he is delivered. Will be a shot at Nick Punto, the second baseman. Almost took out Mark Wegner, the second base umpire. Actually did a good job of getting out of the way. There's Punto playing tonight. Nick Coffin Corner Punto getting the start at second base as David Bell is out for we think the year, and Lucido Polanco is not available yet, so a little change at second and third. No change here with Chipper Jones.
No.
Wasn't so long ago was the young kid on this team.
I know, and I'm sure he thinks about that a lot.
He does.
He was the young guy in this lineup, and now he's kind of one of the grizzled veterans. And he started to pick it up here in crunch time for Atlanta too.
Well, he's got 97 RBIs. If he gets 3 more, which he will, it'll be 8 straight 100 ribby seasons.
Yep.
Pretty darn good.
Really good. I mean, he's a team guy. He's moved to the outfield, where if he was still the third baseman, I think he probably would have made more all-star teams than he's made. But he went to the outfield, thought it would help his team, gave Castilla a chance to play, and still putting up solid numbers year in and year out.
Well, he might be. I mean, you wonder whether he'll be back at third in a couple of years. You can't rule it out.
Well, one thing you notice here when I come to watch the Braves play, one thing the Braves outfielders do is they take ground balls in the infield. Andrew Jones is the center fielder, and for as long as I can remember, he's taking ground balls at short. Where today I come, and here's Sheffield taking ground balls at short, Chipper Jones taking ground balls at third.
Just good hand-eye?
Just good. I think because Andrew Jones, good hand-eye coordination. All 3 of these guys are really good defenders too, but Jones and Sheffield came up as shortstops.
Well, a 4-pitch walk from Padilla to Chipper Jones. So with 2 outs, runners at the corners for Andrew Jones.
And here's what I was talking about earlier today. Chipper Jones taking ground balls at third. There's Gary Sheffield out at shortstop. And both of these guys came up as shortstops. Sheffield with the Brewers, Chipper with the Braves. You know, now they're outfielders. Chipper's in left, Sheffield's in right. And I think it's because Andrew Jones, who takes ground balls every day at shortstop, I think it helps. I think they feel like it helps with their hand-eye coordination. But it's kind of nice to sit here and wonder, okay, maybe Chipper Jones will one day go back to third. Who knows? But today they were both out there taking ground balls.
0-1 pitch to Andrew. You going to take that drill to San Diego State with you?
Oh, I've talked to, yeah. I mean, Andrew Jones, I've learned a lot from watching him take balls, because I think everybody realizes that he's one of the best defenders that there is in baseball. But if you watch, I mean, he could play short. I think he could play third. I think he could play anywhere on the infield if he really wanted to. His hands, he's got good soft hands. He's got a great arm.
Stays alive against Padilla. You know, it's fun. At All-Star games, that's when you see the most interesting guys. I remember one All-Star game, Cecil Fielder was at shortstop taking ground balls, Tony. I don't know that he was going to move there. Well, but it can't hurt you, right?
Yeah, most guys, most of the best athletes play shortstop. And if they can play shortstop, you can move them to third, move them to second, move them to the outfield. And it was really funny watching those guys play. Sheffield came up as a shortstop in the Brewers organization, and a lot of people forget that. He played third base for us with the Padres.
This will be out of play.
And then he goes to Florida. The Padres traded him to Florida, and he became a right fielder. And a lot of people thought he wouldn't be that good of an outfielder, but he's made himself into a really good right fielder. Chipper's made himself into a really good left fielder. You got Andrew Jones in center, who catches everything.
Punto, very busy. Flings it over to Tomey, who will be coming up for the Phillies when we return. Second, Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn with you for the Braves and Phillies, and here is Jim Tomey. Can you hear me? To work against Horacio Ramirez. And the next homer he hits will be 3 straight years of 40 for Jim Tomey. That's impressive.
Yeah, he's come in and done exactly what the Phillies wanted him to do. He's hit home runs, he's driven in runs, he's given his leadership ability.
Well, when he comes up with nobody on, there it is. Now, they would never try that on you, of course.
I wished. I mean, you can drive a truck. You can ride a train through the left side of the infield.
So look, how do you not? Well, because that's what they want you to do, to try to inside out it if you're not an inside out hitter, right?
That's exactly right, yeah.
But how do you not just kind of, can you just kind of drive it down the line for a double?
It's funny you say that, because the first 5 swings Jim Tomey took in batting practice today, that's exactly what he did. He hit ground balls to the left side. But that swing right there, I don't think he's trying to hit that ball that way.
It didn't look like it. Unless they just moved left field down the right field line.
And see, the advantage a left-handed hitter has right here against Ramirez is, as I talked about last inning, he's on the third base side of the rubber. So that gives you, as a left-handed hitter, a really good look at the baseball.
Right. Busted out and away from him, and Tomey has struck out. Tonight in the studio, Reese Davis, Rob Dibble. Hey, fellas.
Chris, thank you. Marlins and Mets and Dibs. You know what? Florida beating the teams they're supposed to beat down the stretch. Jeff Conine paying off, and Pudge delivered too.
Yeah, Florida Marlins, they're doing what they're supposed to do. And Mike Lowell says the swelling has gone down in his broken left hand. He may be back sooner than expected, but they're still playing well without him.
Marlins finish a sweep, up a half game of the wild card, guys, for the moment.
Well, they won't go away.
No.
They will not go away. And I don't say that like, well, darn it. I mean, I think it's great. Jack McKeon's come in and has rediscovered Ponce de Leon, not far from Pro Player Stadium, was looking for the fountain of youth. I think Jack McKeon found it.
Yes,
right?
and he's just loves the fact that these guys come to work every day. They believe that they can win. And, I mean, they've given everybody all they want. Everybody expects them to fold, and they're hanging right there.
This is Pat Burrell, who for him has had a forgettable year, although as forgettable as it is, and you saw the numbers at 209, he still somehow has 20 home runs and look, let's face it. If he went on a 2-week run, which then might carry over to October if they were to, I mean, he could go on a 3-4 week run and no one would remember the first 5 months.
That's right. And, you know, the thing right now is you can't change what's happened already. You just kind of keep focusing on, you know, trying to get better, trying to do things the right way. And
there it is. Look,
you know, this guy is a great player already. He's going to get better. You know, this year just hadn't been his year.
But it still could be,
and
given the opportunity.
Yes, if he could, you know, find something and have something click, he could be the guy that carries the mail for this team. Take a lot of the burden off the rest of these guys. And, you know, Larry Boa had said nothing but good things about Burrow and in hopes that he'd come out.
Ball's ripped foul. Here's what Boa told me before the game. I said, well, what has to happen really to keep you guys, you know, winning 10 of 12, that sort of thing? And obviously there's several things, you know, starting pitching. There's the bullpen is, they don't, like many of the contenders, it's,
yeah.
But he goes, we need about a 2-week red-hot run from Pat Burrell. That would really be a difference. Well, and as we talk about it, he gets it, sends it back. Andrew Jones going back, and it's gone. We talk about it, and there it is. Home run, Burrell, 1-0 Phillies.
And there's the early run, too, that, you know, the Phillies wanted to put on the board. I mean, there's no question he's got that kind of pop. He has that kind of ability. You know, he got a good pitch to hit, and he didn't try to pull it. He went with it and drove it out of here to right center field.
With the celebrated home run, there it is. Celebrated home run in New York that he hit and avoided the manager. More on that in a moment. Boa, the first guy there to greet him, Tony.
And this ball was in the middle of the plate, and he didn't try to pull it. Like I said, he went to right center field, and you know, first guy to meet him at the steps, his manager, Larry Boa. Mr. Ramirez can't believe that ball got out of here.
Well, I thought he missed a little bit of it, Tony. There's
I did too.
Slow grounder to Giles. Tomas Perez playing third base tonight. Grounds out. Well, let's go back to the studio. Reese and Rob.
Chris, on the subject of jumping on someone early, Cubs and the Expos, Aramis Ramirez having a really big season.
Yes, he is. Since he came over to the Cubs, he's paid dividends. And you want to try to win tonight's game because Mark Pryor goes for the Cubs tomorrow.
Closing in on 100 RBIs, a mark he matched a couple of years ago, guys.
The frozen tundra of Hiram Bithorn Stadium in San Juan. It's about 150 degrees on the field, I think, last week, wasn't it?
Yep.
Well, I mean, that division, oh, man. We had the Cubs Cards a couple weeks ago, and then they had that 5-game series at Wrigley. That's, if you look at your schedule, which is dangerous when you do it, the Cubs seemingly have the better of it. For one, Houston and St. Louis play home and home, and the Cubs are done with all of them. But, you know, you start analyzing that.
Yeah.
A lot to analyze.
That's right. It's too many teams, too many things that can happen. You know, you got to take care of your business, not worry so much about the other clubs.
This is popped up by Quinto and called off as Lopez de Rosa makes the play. And Quinto is out, but Pat Burrell, well, so strong that even if he missed it a little, it was gone. It's given the Phillies. Bottom of the second, and all-star catcher for the National League, Javi Lopez, with a bust-out, not a bust-out season. He's had big years before, but not lately at the plate. It's as good as it gets.
No kidding.
Closing in on 40 home runs. And as we watch him at the plate, I don't know where the issue is here, the hitting. Well, that is the issue. The Braves have a decision to make, and I think they've made it, Tony. He hasn't caught Greg Maddux for like 5-6 years. But you know what? You're going to take that bat, and that's Blanco, who's a very good defensive catcher. But Javi, offensively, has not been this, not the last few years.
No.
Well, there it is. You're going to take this bat out of the lineup, and you know, in the playoffs, which is not once every 5 days, it's once every 3 to 4 games.
Yep. Unless you play him at first, that's the only thing I can think of. Maybe you play him at first, but I wouldn't take him out of there. I like his bat in the middle of their lineup. I like the fact that you know, he's a threat this year. He's hit homers. He's driven in some big runs for Atlanta.
2-2 pitch from Padilla. And Lopez just slugs it to center field. And this is gone! See, we talk about it, and it happens. First Burrell, now Lopez. We're tied at 1.
That's just a nice, easy swing by Javi Lopez. He didn't try to muscle it. Look at this swing. Just ball out over the plate. Gets the barrel of the bat on it. And from the moment it left the bat, Marlon Byrd was running like that ball was going to get out of here, and it did.
So long ball is not of this game at 1. To complete the story as Robert Fick is up. Greg Maddux goes tomorrow for his 15th win. Okay. Fick, and this one will go toward the line, but hangs up there nicely for Burrell, and there's 1 out. If he gets his 15th win tomorrow or whenever, he will do it 16 straight seasons. Nobody in the history of baseball has done that. He's tied with a guy named Cy Young. You might have heard of him. At 15 straight years at 15 or more wins. But this would be 16. I think after that, of course, I'm taking an educated guess. Okay. I think Lopez will catch Maddux. The plan would be that Maddux wins tomorrow as soon as possible. Maybe catch a couple of starts and catch in the playoffs. I'd be surprised if it didn't go that way. Do you agree?
I agree. I think because they want Lopez's bat in the lineup, and I think, you know, obviously getting those 15 wins for Maddux is important. But I think more so they want to see, you know, if there's, you know, some kind of, if they can get on the same page with Maddux on the mound, Lopez behind the plate. So I'm sure I agree with you. I think they'll give that a try and see how it works and see how Maddux pitches.
I think you can count on it. This is Mark DeRosa with a grounder to Nick Punto, who's been busy. Over to Tomey, 2 out to Reese and Rob.
Chris, American League East leaders taking on the Tigers. Bases loaded. Jorge Posada.
With Jason Giambi in a huge slump, guys like Jorge Posada are going to have to help the Yankees out down the stretch.
And the Tigers needing to win 6 out of 19 to avoid matching the Mets with the most losses, down 4-0. Cubs in Montreal, Kenny Lofton.
The other half, the Aramis Ramirez trade from Pittsburgh, probably the better of the 2 guys.
And both of those guys have gone yard. Cubs on top 3-0.
Cubs swept Milwaukee. Looking good.
Playing good, playing with a lot of confidence.
Very confident ball. This is pitcher Ramirez. Neither Ramirez nor Padilla much with the bat. They're both, as we like to say, on the interstate, which for those that don't know the term, right, Tony, when you're hitting below 100, all the interstates are 2-digit numbers, right? So among the baseball players, that's on the interstate.
And I-93 right now.
Yeah, right.
For Ramirez.
Right. I-93 goes to New Hampshire, I think. In case you didn't.
I didn't know. So
I think that's up our way. I think that goes up through New Hampshire to the White Mountains of New Hampshire, where the license plates say "Live free or die."
Okay.
Which is what they're doing, watching him bat.
Yeah, and you know they pitched, but he took a nice hack there.
Yeah, he did.
In this situation, contact is a good thing.
Well, Braves pitchers have been the best hitting pitchers in baseball through the years.
You know, you learn from Smokes and Maddux on the mound, and you learn at the plate too.
Padilla over to Tomey. Ramirez is gone, but Javi Lopez has matched Pat Burrell's long ball here in Atlanta. Game. Oh yeah, the leather, the horsehide, the lumber. September baseball. I need some of that at the top of my head there, Tony.
That's a September glove too. You see
yeah.
A pine tar mix on there, and you know, it doesn't get much better. This is the best time of year to play baseball, September. Especially when you got something to play for like these 2 teams do.
Especially when you're in Georgia and it could be 100 degrees if it's in the summer, but instead it's 70. I think it's great. For guys like you and me. I mean, you're bold. You wore a blue shirt up here in Georgia. That's pretty good.
Well,
I wear a blue shirt. I got to bring 3 of them. One for each of the 3 innings. Vicente Padilla looks at 2 straight balls from Ramirez. Yeah, I just want to get back to that home run by Lopez because the Braves have just set a franchise record. That's their 216th home run, which is by far and away the most in the National League. And it's right there with the leaders in the American League. And remember, they hit the pitcher. So, I mean, for them to be, I mean, Boston and Texas are right, I didn't look at today yet, but they're right around there. And the point is that they're doing that with the pitcher spot.
Yeah.
So they've never done this before. It breaks the old franchise mark here. Boston is 216 and Texas 215 going into today. So it's very impressive.
Right. Well, 216 homers as a club.
Now Ramirez came back nice. Padilla did take a hack at it, but gone, 1 out.
When you look up and down the Braves lineup, I mean, everybody in the lineup, with the exception of DeRosa, and usually it's Vinny Castilla at third base, they're all in double-digit homers. And Castilla's hitting in the 8 hole, and he's got a bunch of homers. I mean, this is a different Atlanta Braves club than I think most of us are used to seeing. Usually it's done with pitching and defense, and a pretty, normally a pretty good offense. But this year, they're middle of the pack pitching wise, and they're bottom of the pack defensively, but offensively they're at the top of the heat.
Marlon Byrd singled in the first, stranded at third. Count is 2-0 to the Atlanta area native. To Byrd. So Ramirez starting out throwing balls, came back nicely to Padilla, the pitcher, hitting on the interstate. Bird's another story. Average up to an even 300. That was hitting below 200 the first couple of months of the season. He's in and out of the lineup, didn't start every day.
And now, he's up to 300. He's playing with a lot of confidence.
Broken bat. Oh, through the wickets of Marcus Giles. That'll be error number 113 for the Braves, which is only the Reds have more in the National League. And this is just not the Braves club as great as they are in hitting, and we'll talk about it. The defense is not what it's been. And their pitching has been so good, and you kind of take it for granted because their defense was so good too, and that's why they'd get in the postseason and pitching in defense. You always felt like they were going to be in the game. But, like I said, this year, the middle of the pack pitching wise and bottom of the neck, almost at the bottom defensively. And for Cause made 29 errors, Giles makes an error there. And I'm sure Bobby Cox has got to be a little bit nervous about this club going into postseason just because he's not used to doing it this way. Well, hey, look, they have the best record in baseball. But I was sat in his office for a while today, as you know. I said, Bobby, the bowling term, you get a strike from the Brooklyn side, meaning instead of in the main pocket, 1 and 3 comes from the wrong side. You guys are coming at this for you from the Brooklyn side. And he agreed. He wasn't sure. Uncharted waters for him. And all he's done is manage about to be 12 straight. And actually, let's add on the 85 Blue Jays. Do you know this will be 13 straight division winners? Bobby Cox, when he started the year as manager, will manage?
Unheard of.
That's right.
Unheard of. He does a great job, and these guys
underrated.
Love to play for him. But even Bobby Cox, having won as often as he's won, has to go into this thing with a different kind of look.
He's not sure, Tony.
You're just not sure, because when you've got dominant pitching, you're going to feel extremely confident that you can win.
Jimmy Rollins with a fly ball to center. Right at Andrew Jones. 2 out, Bird back to first. Well, another thing about Bobby, since we're on the subject of Bobby Cox, okay? He won, 91 games this year? That gives him 1,896 wins. That ties him for 11th with Bill McKechnie. When he wins 6 more, He'll be tied with 10th with Gene Mauch. If he wins an even 100 this year, tied for 9th with Casey Stengel.
Wow.
1,905 wins. Bobby Cox, Casey Stengel. May not be as funny as Casey. He's actually humorous.
He is. Very
Casey
funny, man.
was in a league of his own. Ripped over the head of Ramirez by Abreu. And there are 2 on now for Mike Lieberthal. So Mr. 3-run home run now has his chance.
And once again, you know, lefty on lefty, you're getting a good look at that ball, and Abreu takes a great swing, lines it right back up the middle. He's a good hitter too, and he's another guy that you'd like to heat up here coming down the stretch. You get Burrow going and Abreu gets going, you know, this team could put some runs on the board.
Man, long ball accounting for both of the runs tonight. Burrow a solo homer in the second. Javi Lopez a solo homer at the bottom of the second. Here's Lieberthal looking at strike 1. Home plate umpires Chuck Merriweather. Tim Welke's at first. Mark Wegner is at second. Gary Cedarstrom is at third. Pat's letting that blonde hair grow out. Okay, I mean, it's still blonde, but he's letting it grow out. I got the scoop. I think I'm down there talking baseball with this guy.
I just wonder if he thought by going blonde it would change his luck.
Well, he did at the time.
Yeah.
Todd Pratt is like another human being down there. You see him with the blonde hair. He'd look like a senator or I don't know, a senior, an elder statesman, the backup catcher. There, I mean.
And see, that's how this
Look at that.
That's how this game is. You know, when things aren't going well, oh, let's dye my hair, let's get a tattoo.
Well, this is last night. Lieberthal was hitting 5th in the first inning with 2 on, and we'll see it. Well, for Shane Reynolds, who lasted 1 1/3, Reynolds' night was wrapped up very quickly by the Phillies. Lieberthal did that on Monday night as well. But Kevin Millwood couldn't hang on to a 4-0 lead. Now the count is 1-2. Big situation again, Philadelphia. Had 2 on in the first, but didn't score. Check swing, just over the dugout. Man, not quite the dugout. Gotta be alert down there.
And you see Ramirez going with that off-speed pitch away after he busted him in on his knuckles a couple of times. A little change-up away, and trying to get him to dive out over the plate so he can come back inside. I would tell you what he's going to throw here, but I never could read signs by the catcher.
That'll be out of play. I don't think you had to.
No, I didn't want to.
That might have screwed you up.
That's exactly right. I didn't want to know. Gary Carter, when he caught, he used to tell me sometimes what was coming. He hated that.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he did. He said, we can't get you out the conventional way. I'm just going to tell you.
Get out of here.
And Doug Harvey,
here's a curveball?
Doug Harvey was the umpire behind the plate, and he said, I said, Doug, he can't do that. He can't tell me what's coming. And Doug said, well, there's nothing in the rule book that says he can't. So yeah.
And that would foul you up?
Yeah, I hate it.
That's hilarious.
You know, because my game was based on, you know, just reacting to what I saw. And I think in a lot of these guys' cases, I think in Burrow's case, I think he's a good example. If he would just go to reacting to what he sees instead of trying to anticipate. Because in this game, guys anticipate all the time. And when you get a guy, you know, like Ramirez, who's on one side of the rubber or the other, and depending on if you're left-handed or right-handed, you're going to get a good look at the ball. There's no reason to sit here and try to guess, to try to anticipate. Just, you know, hit what you see. And be confident that if you do things right, that you can have some success.
Lieberthal did a good job to foul that back and stay at the plate here with 2 on and 2 out. Foul again. 4 now in a row. He's hanging in.
And that's what you want to do, because as a right-handed hitter, you're cognizant of the inside ball because Ramirez is all the way over on the third base side of the rubber. So you're guarding against the ball inside and also trying to be aware of the ball going all away from him.
So it now becomes an 8-pitch at bat here. There he is.
You're a right-handed hitter. You can't help but be conscious of that ball in because he's throwing from that side of the plate.
blocked by Lopez. No, they checked, appeal. Lieberthal held. So 2-2. So we're 1 strike away from when I really like it. You know, more than 2 or 3 runners on, a full count, 2 out. He did. That's a good call, right, Tom?
Yep. We held back. If he can work the count to 3-2 as a hitter, that's what you like. You like a little movement. You know, guys have to move around a little bit.
Bird and Abreu can move too. 2-2 pitch. Chopper. And this time Giles makes sure of it over to Fick, and the Phillies strand 2 again. So we're heading out of the bottom of the 3rd inning here in Atlanta. Phillies and Braves tied at 1. Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn with you here in Atlanta. Glad you could join us for Wednesday Night Baseball here. September the 10th, 2003. 2.5 weeks. We'll know who's going, who's not. The Braves know they're going. Well, not officially, but they know.
They know.
The Phillies hope they're going. Top of the order for Cal, Giles, Sheffield. You know, you say what you want about Larry Boa. You know, they were surprising 2 years ago in the race. They lost to the Braves by 2 games. That came out of nowhere. And so for a franchise that hadn't had a winning record since that great year in '93 when they went to the World Series, as one of the most fun-loving modern-day teams that we can remember, with Jim Belafergosi and the boys. I mean, Boa's had him in contention 2 of the 3 years.
Yeah,
here.
he has, and you know, and he wants to win.
Oh, that's a shot by the speedy Furcal down in the corner. Abreu's going to go a long way. They're looking for Cal Dig. He's even going to take a look in case Abreu bobbled it. But it's a stand-up double to lead off the 3rd inning for the Braves. Atlanta in business. We're in business in the studio.
Chris, Nick Johnson was doing a little business, hit his 12th home run against the Tigers. What does he do for that Yankee lineup, Dibbs?
Well, he has a lot of punch in the bottom or the top, wherever Joe Torre hits him. He's got a .439 on-base percentage this year, Reese.
It's a 5-2 game, and the Yankees trying to maintain their edge on the Red Sox. They've already won behind Pedro's gym. That was his 12th victory, 5-0 over the O's.
Yeah, thank you, fellas. Pedro on it again this afternoon. Boy, the Orioles have given the Red Sox a hard time this year, but not with Pedro. The Yankees know they're going to have to go all 162 games to get rid of them, and this is fielded by Padilla. Almost got by him on an interesting bunt by Giles, which almost went for a base hit, but the runner for Cal the third.
And that's, I think, what he was trying to do was get this ball by Padilla and take a chance at getting a base hit, but Padilla made at the out. He gets the sacrifice, but just good fundamental baseball. He's trying to get this ball by Padilla. If he gets it by Padilla, he's got a chance to get a hit. Doesn't get that part of it done, but does get the runner over to third base with less than 2 outs, and gives Gary Sheffield an opportunity to drive him in.
So here's Sheff with that waggling bat, and that ball snapped up and in. Ball 1.
You know, another thing with Giles being able to punt that runner over, the last inning he made an error, and you know, just a simple error. They weren't hurt by it. They didn't score a run, but you know, offensively he comes right up, gets the job done, gets the runner over to third base, gives Sheff an opportunity, and that's what you want at the top of the lineup when you're number 2 guy. Sometimes they're going to ask you to bunt, they're going to ask you to play hit and run, they're going to ask you to be the guy to drive in the run, and in this situation, you know, this is kind of like getting ready for playoff baseball. Move that runner over to third base. Give Sheffield, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones a chance to in.
2-0 pitch. Be careful. Whoa! I didn't mean that way either. That was way up and in, and Sheffield and Padilla are about 4 steps away from each other. What are you doing? Right?
Yeah, might not be saying it out loud, but
no,
you know that's what he's thinking.
Look at that.
Just overthrowing the fastball. And, you know, as a hitter now, it's 3-0. You're in the driver's seat. You know, I'm sure they're going to green light Sheffield here. So if it's a ball that you feel like you can handle, you're going to take a whack at it. The thing with
he's cooking 377 with runners in scoring position, and certainly has one there now. doesn't even include sac flies, of course. Takes it for a strike, 3-1.
That's a confident hitter right there. 3-0. You get a cookie right down the middle. 3-1 now, and you know, if he walks you, you take the walk.
But the one guy, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that of the Braves has hit Padilla is Sheffield. 13 for 31, including 3 home runs. Everybody else, really, we can go down it later on, is 200 and below and 210. And
well, this is a situation where, if you're facing a guy that you've handled well, you're pretty confident. You're going to zone in and get a ball that you can handle. If not, you take your walk.
that's in again. It was really ball 4, but Sheff had started on it.
Yep.
So Padilla gets a break, and now the count is full.
But that's what a good, a better than average fastball will do for you, though.
Tony, is that your name at the bottom right?
Yeah, that was my name. And your name, too.
Hey, amazing.
A better than average fastball will get you a little bit jumpy, get you a little bit, wanting to get the barrel head out in front. Padilla throws hard. But all we've seen in this at bat is fastballs. And Sheff is not a guy. I mean, there aren't many guys who can throw a fastball by him.
Well, that's ripped, and the Braves have the lead.
And that's what I mean, a confident hitter, because this is ball 4 he swings at, and he just kind of tomahawks this ball, gets on top of it. I mean, look where this ball is. He just gets on top of it and lines it into left field for a base hit. Good, solid, good piece of hitting. Base hit for the Braves, gives the Braves the lead.
Well, and you could tell by the way Padilla pitched him that he knew that Sheffield, not that Sheffield doesn't do well against a lot of pitchers, but that's really the first that we've seen more than one pitch up and in anybody tonight so far.
Right. You're right. I mean, look at Sheff. He waggles that bat, but he gets it in position, gets that foot down. Bottom hand through the zone, and he's on top of it, and boom, there's the baseball. There's a base hit. Gives the Braves the lead 2-1.
Dare we say it in Atlanta, he really tomahawked.
He
did.
Not many guys can take a 94-mile-per-hour fastball and get on, that's up like that, and get on top of it. And he does it about as well as anybody.
So here is Chipper Jones. 3 ribbies shy of 100, as we mentioned before, for the 8th straight season for him. Sheffield at first, the Braves with the lead. This will be fouled and out of play. The Phillies and Braves this year. This is, think about it. You got 18 runs scored on you last night. I know we answered, you'd like to play for home field, but that's not as urgent as the Phillies. You know that the Marlins have won, but then there's the bit that you got 18 runs scored against you, even though you're a hitter and you didn't pitch. Yeah. Did you take that personally?
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You know the Phillies are playing for something.
This is really a little bit of a statement game for the Braves, who this is the 15th time they have played the Phillies this year. The Phillies have won 8 of 8, and the Braves have won 6.
So you have to let them know that you got to go through us.
Well, that's real. That's reminiscent of a guy sitting up here in the booth. That swing right there, isn't it now?
Good hitting.
I don't think we're talking about Rob Dibble at the plate either, fellas.
Chris, he's proud of his lifetime average. Tigers and the Yankees. This is Carlos Pena, bases loaded. Nick Johnson. Oh, it's a Bill Buckner moment.
Well, Tony Gwynn can tell you with his gold gloves, you don't want to give the opposition extra outs, 2 outs. That ball has to be knocked down.
What was your lifetime average, Dibs?
080, Reese.
080.
Here come the Tigers.
Here they come. Don't give them an extra out.
K-Line's up next. Then,
Gibson.
Horton.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking different Tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that 84
team is still vivid.
Wow. With no knock on your team that couldn't beat them, nobody could.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, both times we went to the World Series, we played teams that nobody could have beat.
Right.
Tigers in 84, Yankees in 98.
Yeah, that is true. You did go against, I think, right?
Yeah.
The best 2 records in the last, 40 years. Here's Rollins. Punto, the strong overhead throw that Tomey makes the stretch for. So they get the double play on Andrew Jones, but Sheffield drives in a go-ahead run, 2-1 Atlanta. Top of the fourth inning, Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn here in Atlanta. And by the time we went and get some to eat, huh? Look,
yep.
Lines aren't that long. Don't they know Tomey's up?
That's why they're not that long right now.
Right. So the Phillies trailing for the first time tonight have Tomey, Burrow, and Tomas Perez. Tomey was hitting lights out. He went 0 for that Mets series, although everybody else did a good job, and the Phillies swept him. He had 0 for the first game here. Had a hit last night. So in a mini, 5-6 games, I mean, you can easily go into a little bit of a funk, right?
And it happens, yep. You know, I look at this shift, though, that the Braves have on, and as you saw him strike out there, you know, he's out in front.
He struck out twice tonight, and 161 strikeouts. But you know what you're getting with Jim Tomey. That's going to happen. But his thunder is dangerous, and the thunder of this guy gave the Phillies the lead. And Pat Burrell hit his 21st homer, and the ball just kept going and going and going.
Oh, my.
Right center field. So now here's Pat. Huge year last year for one-time #1 overall pick in the draft back in '98. Star at the University of Miami, where he hit .442 in 3 years. Who had the most homers last year, 37 for the Phillies since Mike Schmidt in 1986. And Tomey's going past that now, but this year a different year, as we discussed.
Yeah.
But as we also discussed, 3-4 weeks could change a lot of perception.
One bat, that's all it takes. You know, sometimes, you know, a guy like Burrow gets hot, he could carry the low. He carried the mail for this team. And we saw his first AB. And as you can see, he's seeing the ball good. He isn't chasing balls out of the zone, and that's always a good sign. But normally here, 3-1 is a count that hitters want to be aggressive on. And this is a count where you just got to kind of trust your stroke.
Pitch by Horacio Ramirez. Looked like it was outside. Burrell held off.
Yep.
Dropped it in for a strike, and the count is full.
Now a little change up, 3-1. And it looked like Burrow recognized what it was, but it already had committed a little bit with momentum.
Pair of strikeouts here thus far this inning for Ramirez. Here's the yin and the yang of it, if you will, for Brian Giles.
Yeah, in the third inning, you know, this ground ball goes through the wickets, and he knows he's made a mistake. But Glenn Hubbard comes over, and of course his job is to make sure that Giles understands how he made the mistake, what he did wrong. And I'm sure he said, you know, you left the garage door up on that one. You didn't get it all the way down. And Giles knew that. And that's what happens from a coaching standpoint. You know, your job is, even though these guys are big league players, you still got to let them know when they make a mistake, especially young players. They're more apt to let a veteran guy kind of figure it out on his own.
Came right back and had a good at bat. This a little flare from Perez to Sheffield. A very impressive inning, pitching with the lead for Horacio Ramirez. 2-1 Braves. Bottom of the fourth here in Atlanta. The Braves lead at 2-1 over the Phillies. They got a Mohawk up there, Tony. Look at that. John Riggins is a long-lost relative. I don't know. He's a Braves fan, Mohawk. I mean, I get it. Never understood that look. Javi Lopez, that's almost to us. Just a little bit back. And let's take a look at the National League leading home run hitters since the All-Star break. Hammering. Brought to you by Century 21 and Jim Tomey and Javi Lopez, 16 homers. Tied with Jeff Bagwell and Sammy Sosa. Most since the All-Star break in the National League. All those guys in pennant races. Big home runs, not just kind of course, Lopez not really in a pennant race, but he's doing the right thing. He's in a race for home field. Yes, he is.
And he's also in a race for, I think, owns the record for catchers. You know, he's 2 away. I think he hit 41. And so he's within 2 now of becoming the home runs for a season.
Very impressive.
That's reason to do things right. Obviously, getting the chance to catch Maddox again. I mean, all those things kind of come into play for him.
It hasn't been said, but we're saying it.
Yeah,
we're saying it here on Wednesday Night Baseball. You're going to see Javi catch Greg Maddox.
I
in the
agree
playoffs.
with you. I think that's going to. What a difference when you watch him hit now. I mean, he looks more confident. He looks, you know, like he has a better idea of the strike zone, and he's hitting the balls to all fields. He's not just going up there trying to pull.
Breaking ball, and that is hammered all the way to the wall. My Lopez has just been on it. Homer and a ringing double here in the 4th. A leadoff homer in the 2nd, a leadoff double in the 4th. That's hammering it.
Yeah, and once
brought
again,
to you by Javi Lopez.
Once again, this ball's out over the plate. Little slider. He doesn't try to pull it. He goes right with it. Kind of fooled on it, but this ball's driven up the gap in right center field. Bobby Abreu's trying to cut this ball off, and he can't get to it.
So now Robert Fick, who's fallen off after a nice start coming over from Detroit. You talk about a world of difference from a team with the worst record. And that'll be just foul. Looked like it hit the bag, but it actually hit a divot, dare I say, about 2 feet foul. He's all-star last year with Detroit, and obviously going from the team that was breathing down the neck of the 62 Mets to a team that's breathing down the neck of 100 wins.
Yep.
That's kind of a culture shock.
Yeah.
But he's fallen off some, and they may look to the ageless wonder a little more at first base, and that would be Julio Generalissimo Franco, who came into the league at 40 and now I think is 25. Tony. Marlon Byrd in center. Fick is gone. A 9 for his last 68 is Fick. Reese and Rob in the studio.
We saw the Cubs get off to a great start against Montreal. The Astros against the Brewers already up 1-0. Raul Chavez delivering with the bases loaded.
Their good luck charm is on the hill. Robertson, they've won 17 games in his starts this year, so they're pretty pumped every time he takes the hill.
Staking to a 3-0 lead. Astros and Cubs started the day tied in Central.
That race again. Cubs leading, Stros leading. Cards a little later, just underway with Colorado. Oswald's back for Houston, huh? It hit him. Mark DeRosa, the pride of the University of Pennsylvania Quakers, a college quarterback in addition to college baseball. So we can take a hit, Tony.
Yeah, no problem. He doesn't even want to say that this ball hit him in the elbow here, but you know, trying to win and see that hit me in the elbow. Well, I hate to admit it, but it did. It goes to first, and so now Horacio Ramirez has a chance to help himself again, and they're going to ask him to bunt.
15 hit batsman. Only Kerry Wood with 18 is more. And I think each one of those stings from these guys. This is not exactly Tim Wakefield,
yeah,
you know, out there.
Yeah. You don't want to get hit too often at 93, 94 miles per hour.
The rotation play is on because charging at third, and we'll watch this maybe wide here as Perez charges. Rollins really on his move from short to third. Everybody's going to know what they're doing here, right, Tony?
Yeah, they do. Because on this play here, you're going to leave second base wide open. The third baseman's going to charge, and Jimmy Rollins is going to try to hustle and get to third. Tomei's going to charge. And they fake it here. Ramirez fouls it off. Rollins started hard to third and then stopped.
I don't think Lopez is going to win a race with Jimmy Rollins, but.
And I think they're going to talk about it here because, you know, Lopez is not the fastest of people, and in this situation, if you play this right, you could possibly get a double play here. You get the lead runner at third and shoot it back across to first. I think Ramirez realizes this is an opportunity to get two guys in scoring position, so he's going to try to get this bunt down.
He did it. Lieberthal made the sign. Perez over to first base as Puerto covered. And Ramirez, who doesn't handle the bat that well, hey, he bunted it, and he's got two guys in scoring position.
Perfect execution by Ramirez. He laid it down. You want, as a hitter, if you're going to go to third, you want to deaden this ball, and he does. He does it perfectly, and Lieberthal lets Perez know, hey, go to first. They get the out. And now I think everybody wants to talk about it here. Hey, you got a hitter up here who was capable of hitting the ball out of the ballpark. He doubled his last time up. We're going to need to make a good pitch, get ourselves out of this inning.
So a little strategy move. Skipper out. Larry Boa still moves well.
Yep.
Your old skipper.
My
More
old
on that
skipper,
later.
yep.
No one remembers that. You do.
I do. Long time ago.
Oh, dang. That was when you had about 2 batting titles, or 3, right?
I had 1.
84.
86. Parts of 87.
Okay.
Because he was there a year and a half. And you know what? I loved playing for Larry, because Larry was like a lot of us. We wanted to win. And if you want to win, then you're going to be willing to do whatever you got to do to help your team win. And he loves guys that work at their craft. And I enjoyed it. I mean, yes, there are times where, you know, there'd be stuff flying around the locker room, or, you know, words being said, but he was a lot of fun to play for.
Hey, Tony, I don't think he's lost any of the fire, but here he is. Oh, in the brown. Not the classic Padre
Look
brown.
at the pinstripes, yeah. And when you think of Larry Bowa, I think most people think of him like this, arguing. But let me tell you, he's a baseball player. He's a throwback. He wants to win. He expects you to go about your business very professionally. He expects you to work at your craft. And unfortunately, I think, you know, a lot of guys kind of think getting to the big leagues is the end of the journey. It's not. It's really just the beginning. And those guys who want to get better are guys who are going to work at it. And try to really get better at it, and always approach it like you can get better at it.
Well, let's face it, the players aren't his best friends on this team. I mean, it's agitation every day, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I mean, just for some. Now, wait a minute. The base is loaded again. Now, Padilla and Lieberthal are going to discuss this. Is this like football? Can you burn too many timeouts here, Tony?
I think in baseball, you could possibly get to that point, but you know, you were talking about guys not liking, and that's okay. It's okay if guys don't like Larry. You know, all he expects is for you to go out there and prepare to do your job, and when you execute, you're gonna win.
Well, he's hoping Padilla can execute now with the bases loaded. His team trailing 2-1, and Giles up. Starts with strike 1. Got a lot of opportunities for these teams. A couple guys on, and the Phillies had 2 on twice, didn't come through. Now they're Atlanta with a chance. They had 2 on in the first, didn't come through. They scored a run in the second, a run in the third, and now may have a couple with even a little bleeder. Breaking ball away. 1-1.
2 out knocks in baseball for coaches, managers are like gold bricks, man. They're just, when you can have a couple of those in a game, boy, they can really turn out to be the difference in who wins and who loses. And already we've had opportunities here in the first 4 innings.
Keeps hair on your head rather than losing.
That's exactly right. Or keeps it black.
Yeah, right. There's a pitch in there. Breaking ball again. 1-2 to Giles. Marcus doubled in the first, stranded at third, sacrificed in the third.
You know, this is a real good breaking ball. And he hadn't thrown a whole lot of those tonight. He's been, you know, pretty much going after people with his fastball.
Which is his one pitch.
Yep.
I mean, his best pitch. 1-2 pitch. Foul back by Giles. We'll do it again. And we told you, just saw Padilla. The Phillies have won all 4 starts of his against the Braves this year. 3 he got the win. Another they won He went deep into the game, and they won it 3-2. One, two again. Lieberthal sets up outside. The pitch is right there, and Giles is frozen. A big strikeout to lead this game at 2-1. Well, the hunt for October continues. Late games, both of the networks giving you the games you need to know about out west. The Angels and A's on ESPN with Dave O'Brien and Joe Morgan. The ESPN2, Texas at Seattle. Rangers winning in extra innings last night. Dan Shulman and David Justice up there as Seattle trailing Oakland and the Red Sox in their respective races. At one of those teams, New York, Boston, Oakland, Seattle, 3 of the 4 in, 1 of the 4 out. Right now it would be Seattle, but who knows? So those games coming up, and we should remind everybody, as the Phillies hit 8-9-1, that we are thrilled to cover the vast majority of the divisional playoffs here at ESPN, and you're going to be with me, Tone.
Yeah,
huh?
looking forward to it.
Well, that's saddled you with a tough assignment. This is Punto that tried to get around the pitcher Ramirez, but he could not. Ramirez is now retired 5 in a row. The vast majority of the opening round here on ESPN, beginning on the 30th, which is a Tuesday, 30th of the month.
Ramirez didn't want to take a chance on maybe making a bad throw to first base, decides to make the play himself.
Let me just looking ahead. We're pretty much sure the National League is the league, folks, that does the normal. Tuesday, Wednesday, travel day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then no travel day, but Sunday would be game 5. The American League is the one series Tuesday. The other series starts Wednesday, then game 2 is both Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. All right, so if you followed all that, and the only assumption we can make, and you don't know, I mean, team could go 0-14 down the stretch, but it's looking like, therefore, if the National League is Tuesday, Atlanta and San Francisco will be the home teams.
Yeah.
Who they play, how it shuffles, who knows. The non-wild card series in the American League, as Padilla strikes out against Ramirez, who struck out now 3 in the last 2 innings. The non-wild card series, if I'm to understand it right, and I think I do, would be the Tuesday American League. The American League series that waits till Wednesday is the one involving the wild card team.
Okay.
That's what they usually do. Okay, they just figured that there might be more of a chance of a playoff with that, and looking at this race, it could happen.
Yeah. I just find it interesting that, in the National League, so many teams are still alive. We're in the middle of September almost. Phillies and Marlins are tied. Dodgers are 2 out.
Yeah, the Dodgers are the team that no one in the East is even looking at.
Just it's almost like people have forgot about them, and all of a sudden they've started to hit to go along with the pitching that they've had all year long. I mean, they're a real threat because these two teams, the Marlins and Phillies, have got to knock heads here.
Well, and they both play the Braves.
Yeah.
Marlins have home and home with the Braves. Phillies have the Braves at the end of the year, the last games at the Vet, barring postseason. The Dodgers have a different schedule.
Yeah.
Count is 3-0 to Bird. It includes home and home to the Giants.
Yep.
But then on paper, there's some easy games with the Padres until you think that the Padres have always beaten the Dodgers.
Always.
Including this year.
Always.
Always. You guys, you're the little guys in Southern California.
That was our biggest rivalry, is the Dodgers.
That's a tough hop on for Cal. Oh, man. That mustard you just had on that hot dog, for Cal has some down at short. Big boppers coming up for Atlanta. 2-1, the Braves over the Phillies. Vicente Padilla pitching to the heavy metal of the Braves. Their outfield, Gary Sheffield, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones. Yesterday's game was shot to third. Tomas Perez with a long throw over to Tomey. There's one out. Yesterday it was 10-0 through an inning and a half. We got a game. Reese and Rob.
That you do, Chris. You know, only 2 rookies lead their team in RBI this season. One of them's Hideki Matsui, Dib.
And you got to love a 40-year-old rookie, 12 years from Japan, Reese. 99 RBIs, buddy.
Not 40. 6-4 Yankees in the 4th. Come on, Dibbs.
Well, there's that race. The Red Sox, they're another team that will not go away. Chipper, look at the way he's hitting tonight, Tony. Went opposite way the first time. He's going to try for 2. Throw a little offline from Bird. Now it gets away, and there's nobody at third base. Safe. Now, Bird did a good job. Of course, as you know, that's tough to twirl and throw, but that far offline, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, and you know what, though? This is, you know, Bird tries to make the play. You see Chipper take this ball out over the plate, kind of hook it in the right center field. He was thinking 2 all along. Bird's going to spin and throw, and the ball really should be stopped right there, and it gets away from Punto at second, and that allows Chipper Jones to go to third. Good base running by Chipper. And it's one of those errors as an outfielder that you make the throw and you expect somebody to keep it in front, and they didn't, and Chipper Jones picks up an extra 90 feet.
So Rollins there on the shorter. They give the error to the center fielder. It was Rollins, infield in now for Andrew Jones, who was grounded to second twice.
And that was one of the things Larry Boa talked about, was during that 1-9 stretch, they just made bad mistakes.
Good play, Lieberthal.
Nice block. You got a man on third base. Having confidence in your catcher's ability to keep the ball in front is a huge thing, and this ball is way short. And Lieberthal slides over and keeps it out. You know, basically catches that ball and keeps it from making it a 3-1 game.
This is hammered to left, and it's a short hop off the wall. Jones scores easily. The other Jones is in with a double. That was almost like a top spin lob in tennis.
Top spin.
So the Braves now lead it 3-1 to the studio.
Chris, Kansas City hanging in on the edge of the Central, taking on the Indians already 2-0, and Joe Randa delivered.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a ground rule double or a home run, Reese, but it looked like it was over the white line to me.
Well, it was not a home run. It was scored a double, put a run on the board for Kansas City. They're up 3-0, bottom of the second. And with Twins and White Sox opening the night, top of the division, it's scoreless.
Twins 7 of their final 9 games are against Detroit Tigers.
That should help. They've owned them the last few years.
Yeah, but fellas, not unless they don't start beating the White Sox in this 4-game series, and the Royals need to get going. But you know what? Even if they just hit the skids, what a job by Tony Jalapeno.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he deserves a lot of credit, because coming in, nobody expected that team to play that well. And here they are in September.
In a race. In
a race, playing meaningful games. They're 3 games over 500. It's nice to see Kansas City back to playing winning baseball.
There for a strike to Javi Lopez, who was scorched it tonight. You know, back to that play. Maybe we'll get a chance to see it again. I'm not suggesting that Burrow could have made. It looked like, yeah, it was going to go hit the wall on the fly, and then it didn't. So then you said, well, geez, maybe he could have caught it. But it was like a top spin lob,
yeah,
wasn't it, Tony?
Hit that ball out in front, and that created the top spin. Top head coming over. And I don't think Burrow could have made the play, but it was hit so hard and it got out there so quick.
Let's see. Here it is.
Kind of top spins this ball, and it gets Burrow turned around, but this ball is short hopping the wall. And it got out there so quick. That's really about the best that you can do on that plays. Play the bounce, play the short hop, and get the ball back in.
To Javi, who's homered and doubled, and that's inside.
And this is the new Atlanta Braves team, where they, Chipper Jones doubles, Andrew Jones doubles him in, and you still got to deal with Lopez. You've got Fick, you've got Vinny Castilla when he's in there. And new Atlanta Braves, they bang the ball. There's some bangers in that lineup.
Well, they got 4 doubles and a homer tonight, and now as a team, and that's part. It's not only home runs, which we said Javi Lopez's homer tonight is a new franchise record with 216, 281 doubles. Tough to put that in context. It's not a number you see very often, but it sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
A whole lot of doubles.
Well, now the fun begins as the Phillies bullpen gets up. Silva thin is up there. The Phillies know the Marlins have won. They beat the Mets on ESPN this afternoon in New York. This is hit way up in the air. Back goes Burrell to the wall, but he makes the catch. Man, that was full moon last night. I think that thing almost reached the moon. I was looking for some green cheese, that ball there, but Javi has been on it tonight. He just missed.
He wanted to go up in the zone, and it wasn't up enough. See Lieberthal coming out of his crouch. And that's a ball I'm sure Javi wishes he could have back, because just got under it. And I think he doesn't think he got it, but he's going to look to make sure Burrow catches it on a warning track.
Now they'll intentionally walk a hitter who has been in a funk. And that's Robert Fick. Admittedly, it's righty-lefty, but Fick has been struggling. He'll get the base on balls. So Larry Boa has done this before tonight. And it worked. When he did it in the 4th, he walked for Cal, and they got Giles on a strikeout. So they'll try it again, and they'll pitch to Mark DeRosa, who's grounded out and was hit by a pitch. Well, let's go to the studio.
All right, Chris, and Tigers and the Yankees, bases loaded for Derek Jeter.
Well, I'll tell you, a couple weeks ago, these games against the Tigers, they thought were just going to be meaningless games. But Boston already won today. They're only 3 games back. These are huge games for the Yankees now.
Yankees with a 7-4 lead, bases still loaded. Giambi's up.
Hey, come on, Tigers, win those games. You want to leave the Mets right in the books where they are. I know it was a big situation here, but another little speech to Mike Maroth, who I know is not watching now because they're playing, and Bonderman, who has 18 losses. Tony, you got to be a pretty good pitcher to lose 20 games.
Yeah, absolutely do.
And we'll do more on that after, there's a situation here, but do a little homework on what kind of pitchers have lost 20 games. Maroth is in pretty good company, okay? Let's just leave it at that. Well, we won't leave it at that. Let's do it now. 21 Hall of Famers have lost 20 or more games. Cy Young, Walter Johnson, among them. Steve Carlton, modern day.
Yeah.
Phil Niekro did it twice. And even modern day guys that are almost Hall of Fame. Louis Tiant lost 20 games. Mickey Lolich lost 20 games. Padre Randy Jones lost 20 games. Mel Stottlemyre lost 20 games. It's a pretty good list is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
Robin Roberts, a Hall of Famer, lost 20 games. So hang in there, Detroit.
Hang in there. Keep going out there every night and trying to get better.
1-0 pitch to DeRosa. Roger Craig told me a long time ago, you got to be pretty good to lose 20.
Yeah.
Of course, he did it twice. But he was on the 62 Mets, so he certainly gets a pass.
Yeah.
2-on, 2-0 pitch to DeRosa. Ooh, Merriweather did not give him the pitch on the outside. He's been getting that.
Padilla wanted that pitch, and he didn't get it. So 3-0. Pitchers on deck, you can bet they're going to green light him here if he gets something that he can handle.
Pitch on the way. Didn't go with the heat.
3-0 breaking ball.
That's the best the Braves have done against Padilla all year long. I mean, really, they've got the lead on him. They've had him on the ropes a lot of innings.
Yep.
They're close to busting it open a little bit. got 8 hits already here, and we're in the bottom of the 5th. Shot, but right at Punto. So DeRosa hits it well, but the Braves strand a pair. Yeah, there, it's all happening down there, you see? Right down there. That's right. Our homework done? Oh, yeah, no problem. We told Mom and Dad the homework is done. And here we are in Atlanta. The Braves in this 3rd game of a 4-game set, split thus far. Leading the Phillies 3-1. Horacio Ramirez has really settled down. Has retired his last 7 in a row as he faces 2-3-4. Jimmy Rollins, Bobby Abreu, Mike Lieberthal. Ramirez, a 24-year-old lefty. Obviously, you've watched him pitch the whole game. From Inglewood, California, 6'1", 170. 5th round pick of this Braves club in '97. A year ago, Tony pitched in Double-A at Greenville, where he was 9-5. So he made the jump from Double-A to become the Game 2 starter this year for the Braves. For Cal to Fick, Rollins out. Friday baseball. We have a lot of Friday games now down the stretch. At 10 Eastern, Anaheim against Seattle. Up in the Pacific Northwest, Dave O'Brien, Rick Sutcliffe, and Tony Gwynn. Man, that's a big time booth there.
Yeah, I hope so.
The Mariners, they need to start winning. And the Angels, the champs, are reduced to the role of spoilers. Yep. But they will have a lot to say about who wins the West, obviously, as the Mariners trail by 2.5 in the A's, and they also trail the Red Sox in the wild card race who won today. Two and a half in both of the races for Seattle. Ramirez, that was quick. Abreu gone. 2 out here in the Phillies 6th. So he made the jump, Tony. 11 of 25 starts, so not quite half, 7 innings or more. 16 of 25, 6 or more innings. He was 8-2 in a hurry, and then went 9 starts between wins 8 and 9. He was 8-2 on the 7th of July. But 8, 9-4. We've seen the way he's pitched tonight.
He's been in a little bit of trouble, but he's managed to make pitches when he needs to make them. And you know, this is a club that, you know, like we talked about in the beginning, its defense hadn't been as good as it normally is.
There goes the bat. There goes the ball. Across the diamond, DeRosa to Robert Fick. So again, the 3rd straight 1, 2, 3 inning for Horacio Ramirez.
Reese Davis, Rob Dibble here. Good news for the Cubs. Their no-hitter's still intact, but Matt Clement walked the bases loaded, and then Dibs Dusty came out and got him.
He appears to be scuffling, either a groin, some kind of leg injury. Clement doesn't want to come out of the game. He may have 4 starts left in the season to help the Cubs go to the playoffs. I'm not coming out of that game.
Now, there's been no mention of an injury yet, but Guthrie walked a couple of guys, and the Expos scored 2.
Oh, boy. Wow. It's hot down there in Puerto Rico. Yeah. You know, maybe don't think that. I mean, we have to know more about it before we can. It's a no-hitter. I mean,
I think he's got something.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Fly ball to Burrell, and Horacio Ramirez, who has pitched beautifully here, flies out to left. He's 0 for 2 in a sacrifice. So Vicente Padilla, his mastery over the Braves this year, perfect until tonight thus far. Because you just knew it. 18 runs last night, Tony. We talked about it right before we went on the air. I said, is it 0 or 1? Right?
Yeah, you did. And I said you would love to save a few of those to carry over into the next day, but
they don't let you do that.
They don't. I mean, again, it's the Atlanta Braves you're facing too.
I know.
You score 18 runs, you got to figure you're not going to score 18 runs. You're not going to have 2 games back to back against their guys like that. But 2 grand slams, 3-run homer
by guys that, you know, Jason Michaels, right?
Yep.
Tomas Perez. It's not Tommy and Burrell that hit him either. Yeah, you're living.
It's your night.
Right, it is your night.
Yeah, your night. Enjoy it while you can.
Phillies have scored 10 or more runs in 16 games as Furcal gets the walk. And courtesy of Pepperdine Pete Pasquarelli, they're 7 and 8 in games after that.
Wow.
So, see, this is what happens. Meanwhile, while you figure it out, this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball. It's very nice of Bud to let us do this. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and description of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. The new Major League Baseball Authentic Collection Performance batting practice jerseys and caps are here. It's September, they better be. Now anyone can get them. Just visit MLB.com. Yeah, he's got his cap authentic. His color shirt too. That's not that authentic. Unless that was Dale Murphy. What was Dale Murphy, Bob Horner wearing that kind of cap? Long run out is Punto. He makes the catch for Cal back. 2 out.
So if we looked in the stands all night tonight, we could find those kind of hats everywhere.
Yeah, we do.
Everywhere. And I think it's great. It keeps, you see those types of hats everywhere. And the shirt now, I don't.
Now that's lime Ricky.
The lime green, I don't know.
There you go.
Well, that doesn't get more authentic than that.
That's the Jay Cutlow pass list there. 100th pitch for Padilla when he comes to the plate to face Sheffield. Padilla, 26-year-old Nicaraguan. That's his story. He's sticking with it. Low. It's been 9-2 since June the 9th. 9-2. Phillies pitching, except for Padilla, has kind of gone the other way.
Yeah.
And the hitting has improved. The hitting was among the worst in the National League in the first half of the season. The starting pitching area has gone up about 3/4 of a run. Yeah. Except for Padilla. He's been excellent. Duckworth, the 5th starter, is out. Telemaco, he's in the bullpen. Telemaco is the 5th starter. But the Phillies, for the first time in 28 days, will have an off day Monday, and they just might jump over that 5th starting spot.
Yeah. Well, and it's sometimes during the course of the season you run in those stretches where you play, 20 days in a row.
27 for them.
27.
27-day run here.
And there's a rule in Major League Baseball that says you cannot play more than 20 in a row. And the exception is rain out. They had to rain out
with Boston.
Against Boston,
right.
And that's why it's 27 in a row. But normally it's 20. You can't play more than 20 games in a row.
3-0 to Sheffield. In there for a strike. He's breaking ball. 3-0, huh?
He did it again. He threw. Sheff was 3-0 his last AB. Threw a 3-0 breaking ball, and he tried to come back with some high cheese, and Sheff lined it in the left field for a base hit the last time. Or the second time, excuse me, when he knocked in the run.
Runner for Cal. Doesn't matter. Sheffield walks for Cal to second. And now Chipper Jones, who's walked, singled, doubled, and scored. Joe Kerrigan, the pitching coach, out.
For Call, 3-1, he's probably going to be running anyway. But I think from Padilla's way of thinking, he didn't want to make a mistake to Sheffield. So.
Well, that's the kind of the way Kerrigan wants them to go anyway. But it doesn't allow him to slide step, although Millwood's going back to it a little bit. And now Carlos Silva up throwing again in the bullpen.
These guys in the Braves lineup are so dangerous offensively. You got to make a quality pitch. Hopefully Lieberthal can, still have an opportunity to throw somebody out, but I think right now they're putting a little bit more emphasis on the quality of the pitch than how fast you get rid of it.
So again, multiple runners on for the Braves against Vicente Padilla, their nemesis this year. Fouled away. But I like the way Chipper is hit too. I mean, the single was the opposite way, a la my partner here, Tony Gwynn, in the third inning. The double was just not even clobber, just read the pitch. It was like a smooth stroke.
Just kind of laid it out there, hooked it in the right center. He had an excellent base running, going for 2 on the play, and then he went to third on the air. Ball had got away. The short hop coming in, trying to throw him out at second.
Fastball in, 1-1. Yeah, they want to keep it within hailing distance here. And, of course, if you've been following the Braves, or I should say if you haven't, if you're following the Braves, you know it. If you haven't been, there is no John Smoltz. He is on an accelerated rehab program. Ripped again by Chipper. Abreu up to throw. Safe. 4-1 Atlanta. Has he been on the ball tonight or what, Tony?
He's been on it. And I was just getting ready to say the pitch before is he started a fastball in off the plate and tried to run it back to nip the inside corner. And that's a pitch you got to be careful with, because if you leave it in the middle of the plate, it's a good easy hack for the hitter, and that's what happened. He tried to come inside, got it in the middle of the plate. Abreu charges well, but for call speed allows him to get in under the tag.
So a run in the second, a run in the third, a run in the fifth, and now 1 thus far in the 6th for Atlanta. And here's Andrew Jones swinging for the downs, swung on and missed.
On this play right here, everything happens as defensively as best you can. Abreu gets rid of it, but look where Lieberthal is. He's behind the plate, and that allows the throw's got to travel a little bit further. That allows the runner to get in under the tag.
Now back to 2 strikes. Sooner or later, a team that hits this well, I guess, is going to break through somewhat against Padilla, right?
You would think so. You would think the more times you face a guy, the more comfortable you're going to get.
I mean, it's the 5th time. It's almost like old-time baseball.
And if you look
Nobody starts 5 times against a team anymore.
And you look at how he's pitched tonight, too, is that he's thrown the fastball a lot. And when he's thrown the breaking ball, the hitters have been ahead in the camp. And he threw it to Sheffield a couple of times, 3-0. And you look at the pitch total tonight, 110 pitches, and we're only here in the bottom of the 6th inning. So, a lot of those pitches have been fastballs. And sooner or later, hitters are able to figure that out. He's not, he throws his breaking ball when he's behind in the camp, but he likes the fastball. There's a breaking ball there.
There's a breaking ball, slow chopper to Rollins, Punto. Time to get Chipper at second, but the Braves pick up another Singleton. And we head to the top of the 7th inning here in Atlanta. With Atlanta, Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn, 4-1. The Braves lead the Phillies. And this week's poll question, our Sunday question, as you get set for the A's and Rangers on Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern on ESPN2. Who would you select for the AL Cy Young Award? Roy Halladay, Esteban Loaiza, each 19-6. Tim Hudson, Jamie Moyer, All-Star at 40. Mike Mussina, who certainly has had an impressive year for the Yankees. Let's see if we can log on and vote and do whatever you have to do. Who'd you vote for, Tony?
Right now, I go with Loaiza. I think it's
an amazing story.
It is. I mean, everybody had opportunity to sign this guy. The White Sox did. They signed him as a number 5. He turns into a number 1. He's won 19 games. It's unbelievable.
Tommy tried to, or intentionally going the other way, but he fouled it off. Or he could go with Halladay for a team that doesn't have, that great a record at 19-6.
See, that's the thing I learned last year, because I thought A-Rod was the MVP, and obviously Tejada won it. And when your team's not in the hunt, that's going to cost you some points in this thing, I think. And Halladay's pitched well too, and is very deserving, but kind of think the voters are going to go with somebody who's
pitched money games.
Exactly. And that's not a knock against Holiday, because he's pitched great too.
Jim Thome has struck out twice tonight. Now stares at a 2-2 count to Horacio Ramirez. The shift in full bloom. Oh, man, did he dart across the plate with that one? And the dreaded silver sombrero, right?
Yep, I think this is one of those, and he knew it. This is one of those stretches where just not seeing the ball that well.
Silver sombrero, 3 Ks. Nothing worse is the golden sombrero 4. However, there is the totally dreaded platinum sombrero, right?
Yeah. You see, you look at those numbers, those strikeout numbers. Thome struck out 160. Is it 63?
62 now.
62 times, and and it's become commonplace for guys to go up there and take their hacks and strike out. And, you'd love to see guys maybe try to shorten up and put the bat on the ball. And I'm definitely not knocking his style, because that's Jim Thome. He's going to take his whack.
You strike out about 10 times a year.
In a good year, 20 maybe, and but that was my style. My style was standing there and putting the bat on the ball. But anytime you can go up to the plate and make contact, it's going to help you.
Right center field, and ambling over is Andrew Jones, and Pat Burrell is out, and there are 2 outs. So in this game, look, the no-name pitcher, if you will, for the Braves. I mean, you have Maddox going for 15 tomorrow. Hampton's pitched well. Russ Ortiz going for 20 the next time out he goes. He won 19, Tony, on Monday night. But yet here's Horacio Ramirez giving the Braves, if they give up 18 runs, nobody has to get up in the bullpen.
Yeah, and that's a luxury. And I was here about a month and a half ago, and we had John Sherhouse up here, and Ramirez pitched, and he told me that night that he didn't throw as well as he pitched all year long. And tonight he's pitched really well. He's gotten into some trouble, but he's pitched well, pitched his way around, and got outs when he needed to get them. And here he is taking his team into the 7th inning. Nothing overpowering, but just throwing strikes.
Oh, shot to left. Gone. Tomas Perez, Mr. Grand Slam last night. I mean, he just whopped at that pitch. And all of a sudden, after retiring 12 in a row, Ramirez is touched for a home run by Tomas Perez.
And of course, I put the kiss of death on Ramirez by talking about how great he's pitched.
That's a great sentence there, Tony.
Perez goes deep, and now it's a ball game again. It's they're back within 2, 4-2.
Only his 4th home run of the year, which doesn't play that much except for the injuries to Polanco and David Bell before that. Polanco, by the way, they're hoping back on the weekend. He took some extra BP under the cage right as I was coming up at 6:30. Went to the indoor cage.
He took some ground balls today too.
He's hoping deep thigh contusion. He's hoping the weekend, because he would play. Playing third. Perez can play everywhere. He's all of a sudden on a home run tear. 2 in 2 nights. Maybe he thinks he's Tony Perez.
And it's whatever it is.
He's doggy. He's catty.
They're just happy to see runs come on the board, because Ramirez had pitched great.
Chopper. Ooh, Giles. That's a tough play. And so Nick Punto kind of punts his way on, and trailing 4-2 here in the 7th. That'll be the end of the night for Padilla. And this is, we mentioned Perez at a grand slam last night. Outfielder Jason Michaels will be the pinch hitter, the college teammate at the University of Miami of Pat Burrell. So I've been waiting all night to do it. So Padilla. That's all, folks, for their starter. And This is last night. Michaels, who entered the game midway through, it was a blowout, made it even more of one.
That's straightaway center field, too. So we know he's got some pop.
However, you drop the bottom out of the pitch, and that pop goes the weasel.
Yeah, and that's, you know, when you're pinch hitting late in the game, yeah, you're looking for a fastball, and Ramirez was smart. Started him off with a changeup, give him something to think about.
2 pinch homers this year. Fastball up and away, 1-1. So 1 run in. Michaels the pinch hitter, and the potential tying run at the plate. Swings to that one. Count is 1-2.
He's thrown him 2 changeups here that Michaels has been way out in front of.
Yeah, took that one. 2-2. You know, listening over the PA here inside the press box of some of Padilla's numbers as we watch Michaels. 5 walks, 111 pitches, almost half of them balls. It wasn't at the command that his last 2 starts have been his best back-to-back starts. So he potentially could lose to the Braves for the first time this year. And Michaels strikes out. So Horacio Ramirez jumps back nicely after giving up the solo homer to Tomas Perez. 7th inning stretch time.
Time now for the 7th inning stretch, and nobody's been able to stretch it out in the National League Central. Cubs and the Expos. Matt Clement had a no-hitter going in the 6th. Walked the bases full, then Dusty Baker yanked it.
Could be ineffectiveness, could be fatigue from the heat. It's very hot down in Puerto Rico right now. The Expos players have complained about that if they stay down there next year, they want to have some things by Major League Baseball to help them out.
Orlando Cabrera gets the hit to break up the no-hitter eventually. Cubs did a good job not letting this inning get away from them. Scored 3 games in the 7th. Collective groan because the Cubs didn't let the inning get away from St. Louis, and then J.D. Drew logs on.
J.D. Drew thought this was a foul ball. He stopped running. Then he starts back up because it's a home run, Reese.
4-1 Cardinals over the Rockies in the bottom of the 4th. And, of course, Houston also involved in the National League Central race against Milwaukee. Raul Chavez up the middle.
Yeah, they're playing little ball right now. You know, you go station to station, but when you're playing the Brewers, and the Brewers had been hot, but they've only won 4 of their last 10, you have to take advantage of those sub-500 teams.
So all 3 of those teams in the National League Central on the plus side in their games. Cubs and the Astros start the day in a dead heat. St. Louis just 2.5 back. And as for the wild card, the Marlins, they've already won. The Phillies are trailing and a half game back at the moment.
All right, fellas, thank you for our tour around the ballparks and the states and the territories or commonwealths. As Carlos Silva is the new Phillies pitcher, that's the end of the night for Padilla. And we hit the bottom of the 7th inning with a 4-2 Atlanta lead. Javi Lopez, Robert Fick, Mark DeRosa up against Silva. One little note, we saw the Cardinals as one of the highlights that Reese and Dib showed. If Tony La Russa wins tonight, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's win 2000. Wow. We just gave you the Bobby Cox list. He would be the 8th person in the history of Major League Baseball to win 2,000 games. And I believe that's tonight if the Cardinals win. So it's going to happen eventually. Tony,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Man. Unbelievable. 2,000 wins. I don't think he's going to catch Connie Mack. Probably have to manage for another 40 years. Or John McGraw, but he can get up. Oh, that goes through the wickets there. So Perez hit the homer. And how far back was he playing for Javi Lopez? And he just olayed it.
You described it exactly right. I mean, he's playing almost to the outfield grass, and instead of getting in front of this ball, he tries to play it off to the side. And this ball was spanked pretty good, and oh, I'm sorry. Well, it's not the glove's fault. And he's just not used to playing over there. And,
oh well. Olay, oh well.
And that's unfortunate. But it's funny because, you know, we talked earlier about Larry Bowa and how badly he wants to win. He was out here early today, you know, working with a couple of young players, and they were hitting them ground balls. He's working mainly with Chase Utley, their young second baseman, to work on turning double plays. But he was out here early, and I didn't see Perez out here early.
Fick bunts it, and they touch it. You know, they just scored that a base hit. Tony, I could have hit 300 if I got some calls like
That's
that.
hometown, you know. Javi's having a great
year. He spanked it. It was a homer and a double and a single. So now theoretically he's well, not theoretically, he's a single. He could get a cycle.
He could
he's
be
up again.
And that's you know, they don't want to penalize Javi because he hit the ball hard, but you know that's in the big leagues. That play has to be made. You know, it's not like he was playing up close. He was playing back. He's got to get his body in front of it and make the play.
Punto, Rollins, Tomey, double play. Well, let's take a look now at the clutch performance of the game presented by Viagra. And we're going to give it to Javi Lopez. Clutch performance by Viagra because he pulled this home run in the second inning, which is off of Vicente Padilla, who is a guy that's owned the Braves this year. They were trailing 1-0 at the time, and Javi says, hey, we can hit this guy. He did it. He's going on to have a homer, a double, a single, and
a single?
Well,
I know what you're saying.
Tomorrow it'll read in the box or a single, whatever it is. He's going on to say, hey, we can hit our nemesis, and that's why wins the Viagra clutch performance. I'm sure he'll be very happy to hear that.
Well, if DeRosa gets on here, this, you know, they got Julio Franco on deck. So I think Mr. Ramirez's night might be done.
Here's the red. Oh, there's the bat. And a good job by Silva with the bat going right by him. And so he settles down with a double play ball. And then a ground out to DeRosa. We're headed to the 8th. 4-2.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball, brought to you by Century 21, the official real estate organization of Major League Baseball.
Chris Berman, Tony Gwynn with you here in the top of the 8th inning in Atlanta. The Braves lead the Phillies 4-2, and that's it for Horacio Ramirez, who pitched very well. 7 innings, 7 Ks, gave up only the 2 runs. And now a one-time phenom for the Cleveland Indians, just picked up by the Atlanta Braves in a trade with the San Diego Padres. He's had some arm difficulties, etc., etc. Jarrett Wright, and he will hit in Fick's spot, which is the 7th spot, because 9 is due to lead off in the 8th inning for Atlanta. And the first baseman, Julio Franco, will hit in the pitcher's spot, and we'll see this youngster lead off next inning. But Jarrett Wright, Tony, you've seen him pitch some with Padres this year. When he came up with Cleveland, he was, you know, live arm.
Yep.
You know, good bloodlines. His father, Clyde Wright, was a very good pitcher. And by the way, as proof of that, he's on the 20-game loss list.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, but he's battled arm problem after arm problem with San Diego. Did he show anything? Did he show much?
You know, his problem in San Diego was that he couldn't consistently stay in the strike zone. When he's in the strike zone, and this is a guy who throws 94, 95 miles per hour. You know, but it doesn't do you any good if you can't throw strikes. And so in San Diego, he had a lot of trouble throwing strikes. Here in Atlanta, I think they like his arm, but they want to see if he can, you know, consistently stay ahead in the count and throw consistent strikes.
Marlon Byrd, Jimmy Rollins, Bobby Abreu. Can the Phillies claw back in? Not there as Byrd strikes out. Well, it was Jarrett Wright that started the 7th game for the Cleveland Indians in the World Series in '97 against the Florida Marlins. It was Jose Mesa, now throwing in the bullpen, was on the mound in the 9th to try to nail it down. He could not. It was Jim Tomey, who was out there for the Indians hoping to win the World Series, but instead it was the Florida Marlins and their outfielder Gary Sheffield who ended up winning as Renteria had the base hit off Charlie Nagy in extra frames. A story told 6 years later here in Atlanta. Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed?
We talk about the curse of the Bambino in Boston. In Cleveland, just as many people were thinking about jumping out of the ledge, weren't they?
Yeah.
Off the ledge.
Yeah. You know, nobody expected the Marlins to be there that year.
They weren't there next April.
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't there. There was no there.
Yeah, they weren't. That team was gone.
That was a good team they assembled for that run.
They did. They won as the wild card. They were the wild card team, which is what Phillies fighting for here, and Florida once again is fighting for. And they went all the way to the World Series and won it.
Charlie Mann, who was the hitting coach, is now with the Phillies as an assistant on the field, batting assistant, sitting in the stands. Manager of the Indians, a good friend of Jim Thome's. And speaking of the Marlins, they're back
for the first time since.
They're not the same.
No, not the same.
With your old skipper, GM, gendarme Jacques McKeon.
You know, that's funny you mentioned his name too, because when Larry Bowa was the manager of the Padres, Jack McKeon was the general manager, and Jack was the one who fired Larry Bowa.
And now they're going at it
again. Now they're going at it again.
And they will go at it 3 games midweek in Philly this coming week, and then 3 games midweek in Florida the final week of the season. Jack McKeon.
Yep.
See, you can check it any time you like, but you can never leave. Meanwhile, Jared Wright's come in and had 2 strikeouts.
Yep.
Jack McKeon can't get excited. You can't panic. That's the thing you see when you get in a situation like this. See in Philadelphia, Bowa panicking. Jack McKeon quoted as saying that on September 6th. Bowa really didn't respond.
Not gonna, I don't think.
No.
Just
Jack, the oldest guy who's going to make the postseason if he gets there. How about this? Felipe's going to be, but he could be trumped by Jack McKeon.
Jack tried a little gamesmanship there.
I know. He knows what he's doing.
Exactly. That's typical. That's the typical old school kind of thing. You know, has a lot of confidence in his club. You know, Larry's has a lot of confidence in his club, but you know, Jack trying to get under his skin, maybe get him to, you know, lose his focus. And Larry's not going to do that. His team has been in the hunt for a while, wants to stay there.
Abreu skies it. Jarrett Wright with a nice job. 1-2-3 inning. When we come back, Bowa's response. And when we come back, the bottom of the 8th, the Braves leading the Phillies 4-2.
Get kicked out than Kevin Millwood, because he looked like he was very frustrated that game, and he never shows frustration. So that was the reason I got kicked out of that ball game.
Well, Larry had the celebrated August 28th pep talk, if you will, after that loss in Montreal. They're going 1-9, and he spoke French, English, and some other things, and was audible outside of the clubhouse, even though the door was closed. And meanwhile, Jose Mesa, the one-time closer, no longer the closer. It's Cormier now. Mesa, you almost can't pitch him in Philadelphia anymore. His ERA at home is about 8.
And you know what? If they're going to get to the postseason, they're going to need Jose Mesa. And so let's get him, you know, get him some innings. See if he can go out and throw some strikes. As you can see, he's still got good velocity.
Part of the reason Bowa got Mesa was, I remember he was on Lou Pinella's staff, and Lou helped resurrect Mesa. He pitched great for Seattle when they made the playoffs in 2000. They beat the White Sox, and Bowa was his third base coach and saw it up close and personal. Hey, maybe he can come back. He came back with the Phillies, you know, next year with Bowa, and did a good job, and it kind of it lasted for a couple of years until now. He's kind of going back into that funk.
And you see it, a home games 4-5 with a 7 ERA. Pitching much better on the road. And all eyes are focused on Jose Mesa to try to get him, you know, back to throwing strikes, because if he can throw strikes, he can help this Phillies ball club.
He's 1-2 on Julio Franco. These guys have been dealing to each other for a while, haven't they?
Yeah.
You know how long Franco's been around? He was a teammate of Rick Sutcliffe's in the early 80s with the Indians.
I remember.
Early 80s.
I played against him. You know, he's a young player in the Indians organization. And his style of hitting hadn't changed very much. This is pretty much the stance he hit with when he was 18.
Mesa with an impressive strike. I just feel on behalf of all of us here at ESPN and really on behalf of all of us in America and worldwide that, you know, tomorrow is September 11th and it's 2 years in. And the only message I would have is for those out there to think about the families whose lives have been forever changed by that horrific event or events. And if you know some folks who are exactly in the place that we just talked about, some families whose lives have been changed, you know, we're just take another moment tomorrow and think about them. And you know, it's 2 years, but it's forever. So if there's anything that any of us can do to make their day, or not tomorrow's day so much, but any day a little bit nicer, a little bit easier, I think that's a debt that we owe those folks for the rest of our lives. Just a thought for the day as Punto makes the play on over to Tomey, and for Cal is gone. So just keep that in mind. The faces, and the wives, and the husbands, and the fathers, and the mothers, and the sons and the daughters, those who can never forget. None of us will, but a lot deeper there. So help out if you can. Inside to Marcus Giles from Mesa, 1-0. Working quickly, Tony.
He is, and I
which
think
he doesn't always do.
I think that's what a lot of people feel like is part of the problem, is that, you know, maybe he was being a little bit too deliberate out there. Just get on the mound, get your sign, and, you know, throw strikes.
Now to Giles with the dangerous Sheffield on deck. Play again here tomorrow. Brett Myers goes up against Greg Maddux. Will Kinane, who in the absence of John Smoltz, I started telling that story and I didn't finish it, but maybe I will. And Kinane comes in. He's the closer. He's kind of squatter's rights right now. He's the closer until the real closer gets back. He's done a nice job. John Smoltz is in a accelerated rehabilitation program under the auspices of Dr. James Andrews, the famed surgeon in Birmingham, Alabama. They hope for Smoltz to rejoin the team in Florida this weekend. That would be the first plan. Now, when he pitches, who knows? They're hoping, Tony, that he can go well. And Bobby Cox told me in a perfect world, I like to pitch him twice before we get to the postseason. So there goes the base runner, and that throw is high. And Giles has a stolen base. For Marcus, stolen base number 14. But that's the Smoltz. You know, he was on line to break their save record of Thigpen with 57.
Yep.
And it's a different team with him, without him. That obviously.
Yeah. So you want to make sure he's healthy.
So to rejoin the team, that means that if there's some throwing to be done, and then Leo Mazzoni and the doctors can be with him. But right now he's in the rehab in Alabama, and they want to make sure that he is 100%. Leo knows. Bobby Cox knows. That
they all know.
They all know.
Yeah.
It's as good as it gets, and we hope that the rehabilitation goes. Inflamed elbow, no damage, no anything, just real bad inflammation of the elbow. They take no chances.
Give him a chance to calm down. Maybe be able to pitch the final, how long it takes, a final month.
Perez, backhand, long throw, Thome on the mark, Sheffield gone, and the Phillies moving to the ninth with Lieberthal, Jim Thome, and Pat Burrell. Who top of the ninth, last rattle in the bat rack for the Phillies. They trail at 4-2, and some of the great pictures that we've enjoyed not only tonight, not only this season of Wednesday Night Baseball, but baseball and college football. He's one of the finest in the business. It's his final day as a San Francisco 49er. When the clock strikes midnight, cousin Brucey, Bruce Leiter, will be Hawaii 5-0. So from the Ventures and all of us here, Bruce, at Wednesday Night Baseball, and all of your friends, and you have many, you know that, for the class and your ability. Hawaii 5-0 at midnight. It truly is a full moon. Happy birthday, Bruce. Now, the Phillies, Lieberthal, Thome, Burrell. They got some guys that can do something about it against Will Canane, the closer while Smoltz recovers. Closer du jour. He was with the Cubs this year and pitching in Iowa, and he hit a towel dispenser. He was annoyed the way he pitched and hurt his hand, and the Cubs released him rather than kind of put him on the DL. Braves picked him up, and here he is closing, Tony.
Yeah, and the Braves, you got to give John Scherholz and his scouting staff a whole lot of credit. They find these guys.
Mark DeRosa across to Julio Franco, and Lieberthal is out. So Mike, who has hit 3-run homers in the first inning of the first two games of this series, goes 0 for 4 tonight. Phillies with 18 runs last night have just 2 runs and 6 hits tonight. And that'll bring up Jim Thome, who has struck out 3 times. A's Angels at 10.
And that's the pitch right there for Will Canane that and getting his breaking ball back. But you know, more than that, he's throwing strikes, and that's when he was in San Diego and some of the stops after that, he had a lot of trouble throwing strikes, and they've got him throwing strikes here. He's pitching with a little bit more confidence, showing some confidence in him, bring him in the game here in the late innings.
Canane from Suffern, New York, which is right across the Tappan Zee Bridge, Rockland County, across the Hudson, outside of Westchester County, across the bridge. It's about the area that Walt Weiss is from. Finished up nicely with the Braves. The Phillies, if they lose it, will fall a full game behind the Marlins. Now, they do play them 6 times. The Phillies have a game with Atlanta tomorrow and 3 at the end of the year. The Marlins have a home and home with the Braves. So, I mean, you get a lot of churning to go, but a loss here, that's in there for a strike. A loss here, and the Phillies, who once led this wild card race by 4 or 5 games, and they'd be tied in the loss column with the Dodgers. Look at that pitch, Tony.
Yeah, he's had the good breaking ball, but now he's throwing it for a strike.
Inside to Thome. Count is full.
Looks like he's pitching with a lot more confidence too. Working quick. But yeah, in this wild card race, you know, 1 loss is not going to kill you. But these are situations you want to stay away from the 2-3 game losing streak.
You know, Thome has led off 3 times and then come up now with nobody on. So tonight, Lieberthal hitting in the cleanup spot ahead of Thome. By him not getting on or making the last out, they could do the shift all the time, Stone.
Yep. Well, the runs that they've scored tonight have been on solo homers. And they've had some opportunities, especially early in the game.
The golden sombrero. 4 strikeouts for Thome. Canane gets rid of him, and the Phillies are down to their last hope in the form of Pat Burrell.
Every one of Jim Thome's at bats tonight looks like he's trying to pull a ball. You see him reaching for the breaking ball there. There's another breaking ball on the outside corner. Here comes another breaking ball right over the top of. You know, you see that shift out there. And, you know, I watched him in batting practice. Like I said, he hit balls the other way. You know, you have got to make up your mind to get a ball out over the plate and say, okay, I'm going to left field with it. And he hits balls out of the ballpark the other way, too. Just like this guy.
Yeah, the crowd of 21,000 plus on their feet now, looking for the Braves to close this down. And it's 1-1. The Braves 1 out away from their 92nd win of the season. Breaking ball to Berlin there for strike 2, 1-2. So the Atlanta Braves look at an 18-5 loss right in the face, and a guy that's owned them all year, Vicente Padilla, and say to the Phils, you know what? We have the best record in baseball, and it's not an accident, Tony.
That's exactly right. When you get trounced like they did last night, the next game is a statement game, and you have to remind them whose house you're playing in. This is our house.
And a win tonight will put Bobby Cox 11th all-time. The all-time win list for manager. And they just got it. Canane comes in with a 1-2-3-9. And the Atlanta Braves with a little long ball from Javi Lopez, with a little short ball, get 4 single runs and beat the Phillies by the count of 4-2. And so the Phillies fall a game behind the Florida Marlins in the wild card race. These two teams will square up one more time here in Atlanta this season tomorrow night. Tony, Horacio Ramirez gave the Braves exactly what they needed.
Absolutely. He came out, he gave them 7 strong innings, only gave up 2 solo home runs. Did exactly what the Braves needed. 7 innings, gave them an opportunity to win a game.
Well, with 18 runs last night, Philly fans are saying we should have been the Eagles. Could have won that Monday night game, but back to just 2 tonight. And the Atlanta Braves continue to chug toward what will be their 12th straight divisional title. Their magic number is now 6. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Tony Gwynn and all of us here in Atlanta, Wednesday Night Baseball, I'm Chris Berman. Hope you enjoyed it. We go to the studio now. Reese Davis, Rob Dibble. Fellas?
Right, Chris, the Braves knocking the